Have you ever wondered how painting a dusty truck floor pristine white could actually win you an Olympic gold medal? Well, today in this explainer, we're diving into a concept that's totally revolutionized modern thinking, but also comes with some pretty sneaky hidden traps. We're going to look at how microscopic, seemingly insignificant shifts can compound into massive successes, and we'll also explore the dark side of hyperoptimization.
The math on this is just staggering. Think about it. If you manage to get just 1% better each day for a whole year, you don't just get a little bit better. Thanks to the magic of compounding, you'll end up exactly 37 times better by the time you're done. No joke. On the flip side, if you get 1% worse each day, you slide almost all the way down to zero. Every single small choice really does matter.
So here's how we're going to unpack all this today. First, the 1% rule. Second, the economics of marginal gain. Third, building better systems. Fourth, marginal gains in practice. And finally, the limits of optimization.
All right, section 1, the 1% rule. Let's kick things off with a foundational theory that completely flipped British cycling on its head under their former coach, Dave Brailsford. I mean, before he showed up, their performance was so underwhelming that top bike manufacturers actually refused to sell them gear. Brailsford's philosophy was surprisingly simple. As he put it, the whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together. And guys, he meant everything. His team painted the truck floors pristine white just to spot dust that might mess with bike maintenance. They used very specific antibacterial hand gels so riders wouldn't catch colds, and they even hauled the riders' personal hypoallergenic mattresses from hotel to hotel. And the payoff? This wild 1% strategy grabbed them 16 Olympic golds and 7 Tour de France victories in a span of just 8 years. Moving on to section 2, economics of marginal gain. To really get why this concept works universally, we have to transition into the realm of economics and look at the actual math and theory behind improvement. Here's the crucial takeaway. Marginal gain is all about the extra benefit or improvement you get from making one more small change, unit of effort, or investment. See, economic behavior is shaped by changes at the margin. When we make decisions, we aren't usually looking at the grand total benefit of our entire lives, right? We're looking at the very next step. It's like drinking a cup of coffee. You aren't sitting there calculating your lifetime caffeine intake. You're just asking, what's the exact energy payoff of this specific next cup? Building right on that idea, we have marginal utility. This measures the change in utility associated with a small change in the amount of one good consumed, assuming the other stays the same. Basically, it measures exactly how much satisfaction that next step brings you. Imagine you're sweating it out on a treadmill. If you add one more minute to your run, exactly how much health value did that specific addition bring you compared to how exhausted you feel? It calculates the exact rate at which your new effort converts into real, tangible value. All right, section 3, building better systems. Let's see how this math actually translates into our day-to-day lives, especially through the lens of James Clear's massive hit book, Atomic Habits. We all tend to fixate on the target, the finish line. But goals, they're really just about the results you want to achieve. Systems, on the other hand, are about the daily processes that actually lead to those results. There's a brilliant saying here. You do not rise to the level of your goals, but rather, you fall to the level of your systems. If your system is flawed, those bad habits are just going to keep repeating on a loop, no matter how great the result you're aiming for is. So, by tapping into this 4-step neurological feedback loop, you can systematically design good identity-based habits and totally ditch the bad ones. To build a good habit, you follow these steps. Step 1, make the cue obvious. Step 2, make the craving attractive. Step 3, make the response easy. And Step 4, make the reward satisfying. Want to break a bad habit? Just invert the whole shebang. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. It's kinda like this. Building a good habit requires gentle, daily, 1% cultivation. Kind of like watering a delicate flower one day at a time. It takes patience, time, and repetition. But breaking a bad habit, man, those roots are deep. It requires immense, persistent effort, much like trying to uproot an entrenched, powerful oak tree from your daily routine. Which brings us to section 4, marginal gains in practice. Now let's explore how these exact same psychological and economic theories are applied at the organizational level to level up everyday environments.
Take workplace health and safety, for example. You don't always need to tear everything down for a massive overhaul. just making incremental, tangible tweaks like clear signage, a few ergonomic adjustments to desk chairs, regular training and communication, improved lighting to cut screen glare, and some stress reduction initiatives can collectively compound into massive boosts in employee morale, physical health, and overall productivity.
Finally, Section 5, the limits of optimization. Now, so far, this all sounds pretty perfect, right? But what happens when this relentless pursuit of 1% improvements smacks right into a legal, financial, or systemic wall? Let's talk about the dark side.
So, what actually happens when the marginal gain literally drops to zero? Well, in economics, if the reward from working an extra hour is completely neutralized because means-tested benefits are suddenly snatched away by the government, that extra unit of effort yields absolutely nothing. It plunges people straight into a systemic trap. This is what's known as the poverty trap, when earning a little more income results in losing vital transfer payments, making the actual payoff of extra work too small to even matter. Imagine a tipped scale. If working an extra hour gives you a tiny bump in wages but triggers a massive, severe loss in government benefits, the scale is totally tipped against you. The system effectively zeroes out your marginal gain. Even if a worker desperately wants to get ahead, the system actively discourages it because the math just doesn't reward their extra hustle.
And it gets wild in the sports world, too. Can players stop clubs from collecting their data? See, the obsession with marginal gains has pushed teams to hoover up massive amounts of biometric data to find that elusive extra 1%. But this relentless tracking has sparked a huge, ongoing war over personal privacy and consent. This exact tension blew up into a massive legal showdown known as Project Red Card. We're talking over 400 professional footballers joining forces to seek hundreds of millions of pounds in damages, basically arguing that third-party companies were exploiting their personal performance data without their explicit consent. The legal puzzle here is super fascinating because teams are using tools like deep video analytics to track physical health, heart rates, and even player gait. This info falls strictly under the UK GDPR's special category data. That means it's treated as highly sensitive medical info. So sports clubs are walking this really precarious legal tightrope, trying to scrape together marginal gains without violating player consent or exposing themselves to devastating lawsuits.
And then there's what critics call the £34.5 million question. Is it really just marginal gains, or simply an unmatchable budget and engineered technology? Seriously? Was British cycling's crazy success really just about hand sanitizer and nice pillows? Skeptics point out Team Sky's massive £34.5 million budget, those super controversial medical exemptions for powerful corticosteroids, and runners using deeply engineered carbon fiber shoes that offer massive, not marginal advantages. Sometimes the biggest gain isn't a 1% tweak. It's literally just having way more money and better tech than the other guy.
But hey, despite the controversies, the financial realities, and the legal headaches, the core philosophy still holds incredible value. As James Clear puts it, true long-term thinking is goalless thinking. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. If you focus on endless refinement and continuous improvement, the results really will eventually speak for themselves. Which leaves us with one final question for you to chew on. When you look at your own daily routines, are you actively cultivating that next 1% of growth? Or are you just waiting around for a massive overhaul that might never actually arrive?